Kia ora, I'm Lauren. So today's Body Sense Yoga Yin class will be focusing on the movements of the spine. And I've done another couple of classes that will go along with this class. So I've done a 10-minute body awareness class, which will be focusing on the different movements that you have of the spine. I've also done a 10-minute strength building interval training class that will help to strengthen your spine. And this one will be about taking our spine into different movement patterns. So quite often when we injure ourselves and we get a kind of a tweak in the back, and it's normally something simple, like you're going to pick up something off the ground, or I always like the example of you're reaching behind maybe to give a child in the back seat or get your wallet out of the back seat of a car. And so you're reaching behind you, you're taking your body into rotation, and then you're leaning, so going into a lateral flexion, and then maybe as you stretch, going into back extension, so going into a back bend, and your body is possibly not used to doing all of those different movement patterns together, and so you can pull something out of place and get that twinge or that pain in your back. So we'll be focusing on these different movement patterns, taking your body into things that it may not be used to. So of course, always take care when you move into poses, make sure it feels comfortable for you, you're never moving into pain, and be kind. So you'll need a couple of props. You'll need a bolster. It could be a pillow, a couple of pillows wrapped up in a towel, just something to lean on, or not. You may not even need it. And I'm sitting on a towel, and that's, again, you may or may not need something to sit on. Just depends on how tight you are in the legs and how much range of movement you have in the back. So let's begin. I'll just start a little timer. Okay, so we're going to begin by coming into deer pose. So we'll take the legs off to the left. We'll start with movement first, and then we're going to hold the pose for a few minutes. So just taking your right hand down to the ground, left hand onto your right shoulder. And you'll start off with by just allowing your left hip to rock forwards. So as it comes forward, notice what you're feeling in the lower back here. So you're allowing it to come forwards, and then we're going to start to rotate. So you'll come around, slowly rotating, and you want to feel like you're spiraling your spine around. Taking your head as well, so you'll be starting to look out towards the right corner of the room. Just notice how this feels in the spine. And then you'll slowly come back to center. We'll unspiral, so lift up through the crown of your head and turning your body around towards the left. And then let's come around again to the right. Just notice the range of movement you have here. So maybe just notice where your gaze lands. Again, feel like you're spiraling the spine, and then you unspiral as you come to the left. And then we'll come around again to the right, and you're going to take your left hand down. So both hands will be on the ground. Okay, so now we're in rotation. We're going to start to come into flexion and extension, so rounding the spine and arching. So first of all, push down into your hands. You're going to slowly lift your sternum, the top of your chest up, lifting your gaze out. Again, be mindful, this can be quite intense in the body. Notice how it feels. And areas around the lower back, around those lower ribs, if you feel pulling, just maybe back out slightly. Okay, and then you'll tuck your chin and start to round. And so you're pushing into your hands, pulling your chest away from the ground, and you're starting to flex the spine. Let's do that again, just moving very slowly to notice how it feels in the body. Lifting your sternum, lifting your gaze, and then you'll gently round. And staying facing towards the right, we'll just come to more of a neutral position. And then we're going to come down and hold this position. So this is where the bolster can come in. You may like to lie on the bolster. If you don't have a bolster, you may be just resting on your forearms. Note we are in a rotation here. You may need to back out slightly, so maybe coming a little bit more around towards the front of your mat. Okay, and then if it's comfortable for you, you'll continue with your head going in the rotation, so you'll start to look behind you. This may or may not feel comfortable for you, so do check in and see how it feels. And you don't need to hold your head in one position for too long. You can move it around as you need to, but then just allow your body to settle here. We'll be here for 3 minutes. do take note of your breathing as you hold in this pose. Because we are in a twist, you may notice a restriction with your breathing. And the breath is always, it's always good to note the breathing as a way to, as an indicator of how deep you've come into the pose. And if it gets really labored, you're really struggling to breathe, it could be a good indicator that you've come in too deep, so backing off slightly. Backing out of the pose to where your breath can still remain easy. Notice sensations that you are feeling in your body. All the way from your tailbone, just visualizing your awareness, just ascending up the spine to notice each area of the spine. Notice if you're holding tension in your jaw. Be another good indicator that you may have come in a little bit too deep, if you're really clenching your teeth. And to allow there to be a softness in your body. So can you relax your body into this pose? Just another 3 or 4 cycles of breath to go. Here you're going to just slowly push into your hands. Start to lift your chest up. And just stay here for a moment, just notice how you're feeling. And then we're going to turn your gaze so you're looking over your right shoulder and then over your left shoulder. Let's just do that again. So over your right shoulder and over your left shoulder. Okay, walk your hands back up so you're sitting upright. Let's come around again, so we'll spiral around just to notice if there's any change that you may note. So spiraling your torso around to the right and around to the left. And just notice if the range of movements change. Come back to center. And then let's just take the legs out for a moment. Sit up tall. You may like to close your eyes here and just sensing the sensations in the spine as we unwind the spine. Do a bit of a head ramp here, so drawing your chin in, lifting up through the crown of your head. And then when you're ready, you'll take your legs to the right side and your bolster prop to the left. And then just adjust your blanket or towel underneath your buttocks so you feel supported. So you may need a little bit more height through the right side here. You may not need a blanket, so just see how you get on. Okay, so it'll be right hand onto your left shoulder. I'm just going to, I'm not sure where to put it because I'll squish the mic. Okay, let's spiral around. So you'll just start off with by allowing the right side of the hip to roll. And then let's take it around. So thinking the lower back, the mid to upper back, and then your neck, your cervical spine. Again, just notice the range of movement you have here, and then unspiral to the right, Do take note if you're slumping down into the pose, lifting up through the spine. And then again, come around to the left. And if I get my lefts or rights and rights mixed up here, just please excuse it. It's a pose that I commonly do get mixed up with them. Okay, so we'll come around again to the left and then just release your right hand down. Okay, so again, we're in a rotation here. Now we're going into flexion and extension. So push down into your hands, lengthen through the arms and lift your sternum. Lift your gaze if that feels comfortable for you. And then draw your chin in towards your chest in towards your back body, rounding. And then again, just come into back extension, coming into a back bend. And then flexion. And come back to that neutral position. Just pause for a moment. And then you'll come down onto your forearms. And then maybe onto your prop. So lying on the prop if that's comfortable for you. Your head will start to turn. So following that spiraling would turn towards the left. But if that's not comfortable for you, your forehead can stay down or even moving your head to the right. If you're not using the prop, you could just be here on your forearms. You may like to stack your hands to support your forehead. Use a block to support your head or a rolled up blanket. And just keep your awareness around the spine. Notice sensations right down towards your tailbone and your lumbar spine, your lower back. And in the middle part of your back, so where your lumbar spine and your thoracic spine meet. So that would be the bottom of your rib cage. And noticing your upper back, right up towards your neck or cervical spine. Notice how you're feeling in the neck. And allowing your body to just relax into this pose. So slowly turn your head back to center. You'll push into your hands, walk your hands back towards your legs, and then just pause for a moment, again paying attention to how you're feeling in the spine, in the back, and then turn your head so you're looking over your left shoulder, and then over your right. And again, we'll take it over the left shoulder. Especially feeling areas around the rib cage here, areas that you may feel gently compressing. And then again, over your right shoulder. And walk your hands right towards your body, lifting up tall. Take your right hand again onto your left shoulder, and then let's spiral around. Noticing if there's any change to the range of movement that you have on the side. Come back through center, and then unspiral to the right. And make your way back towards the front. Okay, So just readjust yourself now. We'll take the legs out in front. So you may like to sit up on your blanket if you weren't already. We'll extend out through the legs. We'll just take again a couple of moments here just to notice anything that you may notice in your body just after the poses. Allowing your nervous system to assimilate them. Okay, and then we'll come into the next pose. So you can either keep both legs extended, especially if you've got sore knees, that may be more comfortable. If you've got tight hamstrings, you may be keeping your knees slightly bent or placing something under your knees. If you're okay to, we'll bend the left knee, drawing your heel in toward your thigh. Okay, so we're going to come into a couple of variations in this pose. The first one is you will start to rotate towards your left leg. So now we come into rotation. Now we're going to go into flexion. So your right hand will come down either to your right thigh or just in front of your right leg. Can come down to a bolster or block too. Reach up through your left arm and then you'll start to flex over, and the flexion comes from flexing at the rib cage rather than lifting that opposite hip off the ground. And it may not be a very big movement. So we're in rotation now and lateral flexion. So you can just support your head here too if you need to. So just taking your left hand onto the top of your head, fingers draping down, and then just allow your head to relax into your hand. So you're supporting your head. And just holding here and breathing. This can feel quite intense, so come out if you need to. You can always release your left hand down if it does feel too much with your arm up above your head. So if you've got that feeling, you just want to come out of the pose. It's not the most comfortable pose. Just see if you can come into your breathing. And maybe just count the breaths. We've got about another 10 or so breaths to go. Can you sense the difference between your left and your right lung? So the right side will be being compressed at the moment. The left side, you may feel as though it's being stretched. So you may be able to sense the difference between the two sides as you breathe in and breathe out. So you just finish this cycle of breath. And slowly release your left hand down. And then bring your torso back upright. Come back to center and just pause and just observe. Okay, now we're going to keep our legs the same position, but we'll rotate towards your right leg. And then just note if your right leg is turning outwards into an external rotation, just bringing your knee, your toes more up towards the ceiling. Try not to be too muscular here in the leg, but just so you're not putting pressure on the outside of the hip. Okay, so we've come into rotation already. Now we're going to come into forward flexion. So you'll just start to walk your hands any amount, and you can choose where it feels right for you to come into this flexion. So the flexion may be just tucking your chin in, so you're rounding into the neck.
You may round a little bit more into the upper back. Maybe you'll come down a little bit more and round more into the lower back. If you feel a lot of pain in the lower back in this pose, I would suggest being more upright and maybe just tucking the chin. So you're taking that pressure out of the lower back. And you come into these poses too where you're just starting to feel it. So remember, don't come in too deep, too quickly. You may find as you hold in the pose that the body starts to give way and open up, and it may invite you to go a little bit deeper. Just listen to that. May or may not happen in this session. And if you feel like you want to hold a pose for longer than I have allotted, we're only doing at the moment really 2 or 3 minute holds. It's only a 30-minute class, but you can push pause. Stay for a bit longer on one side or both sides. And don't feel like you have to do the same amount of time on both sides either. We're so different on both sides of our midline, on the left and the right sides. We do things very asymmetrically as we move throughout our days, so it doesn't mean we have to, when we hold poses, do them exactly the same amount of time. Just got another couple of cycles of breath here. And you'll slowly push into your hands just to lift your chest, and then start to walk your hands back towards your body, gently unfurling, lifting up through the crown of your head. And again, just bring your torso back to center. You can release your leg. You may need to use your hands to help release the legs. And just take a few breaths before we come onto the other side. Okay, and then you'll bend your right leg, drawing your heel in towards your thigh, or keep the leg extended. Start off this time rotating to that right. So you come into rotation first, just notice how you're feeling. Then the left hand will come either down to the ground or onto your leg. Reach your right arm up, stay anchored down through that right sit bone, and then we're going to start to flex. So flexing, arcing the spine over towards your left leg. Okay, just settle into the pose again. You're welcome to support your head with your hand. You may even use your left hand to support the head and release your right hand down. Try not to lose the rotation though, so do watch if your right shoulder comes around, so you're still keeping a rotation and flexion. About 3 more cycles of breath. And if your right arm is still up, you'll slowly release it down alongside you
And then lifting up through the torso. Draw your body back to center, so coming out of the rotation. You can give your shoulders a bit of a shake out if you need to. Just turn your awareness inwards and notice sensations. Any differences that you may be noticing in your body. Okay, and then we'll start to rotate towards your left leg. And again, note, if your leg is like mine, you'll be in a big external rotation. So I'm just bringing my foot up towards the ceiling. You may not need to do that if yours is already there. Okay, and then from here, we're coming into forward flexion. So again, you choose where you feel like you need it in the spine, whether it be tucking the chin, just moving into your neck, walking your hands a little bit further forwards, coming a bit more into your upper back, or maybe coming down a little bit lower into your lower back. You can always use props as well to support you if you need to. So just allow your legs to relax here. If you feel a lot of pulling through that hamstring, do keep your left knee slightly bent. One thing that you may find as you hold in this pose is a big pulling through the opposite side of the lower back. If this feels too intense, you may need to support yourself a bit more in this pose by taking a strap around your left foot and around the lower back, and that will just help to stabilize it a little bit more, or you'll stay more upright. Okay, so from here you'll slowly start to extend through your arms, just lifting your chest, and then walking your torso back to upright, and then bring it back to center. And then again, you can just release your legs, just take a couple of breaths, just notice whatever you notice. And then we're going to come down onto your front. So now we're going to come into rotation with back extension. So start with your right hand underneath your face. Your left arm will come alongside you, and turn your head so you're looking towards the right. Your left cheek will be on your right hand. We'll start by just hovering your right arm above the ground. Your head will come to. And then start to lift your right elbow up towards the ceiling. So you're coming into rotation. From here, lift your left leg up towards the ceiling. So now we're coming into a bit more back extension. Okay, and then you'll slowly lower back down, just relax. Let's do that again. So again, you lift up. Start to lift the elbow up, left leg lifts. Hold here and notice areas that you feel contracting. And then you'll slowly release back down and just relax. Okay, so we're going to come into the pose a little bit deeper. You'll come to the right side of your mat, just supporting your head with your left hand. Bring your right leg up to about the height of your hip, so your knee is bent. And then you kick your left foot in towards your buttock, and with your right hand take a hold of the inside edge of your foot. And then from here, we're going to start to roll back. So we're coming into rotation and some spinal extension. And make sure you feel comfortable in this pose. Support your body with any props that you need to. Your head can come down to the ground or onto a blanket. And tune into your breathing. Just soften your face. Relaxing your jaw. So very slowly you will start to come out of the pose, just rolling back onto your front side. Just recenter yourself back onto your mat. Okay, take your right arm alongside you, left hand comes underneath your head. You're going to start by just hovering your arm above the ground. Then you start to lift the elbow towards the ceiling and your right leg lifts. And then slowly lower back down, just relax the body. And let's do that again. So again, hovering, elbow up towards the ceiling, so you're coming into rotation, and then lifting your right leg above the ground. Keeping the pubic bone fairly close to the ground here. And then you'll slowly release and relax. And then when you roll over onto your right side, come over to the left side of your mat. So you stay on your mat when you roll. The top leg will come out in front. And then you'll kick your right leg in towards your buttock, and with your left hand take a hold of the inside edge of your foot. You can always use a strap here or a scarf to wrap around your foot if you can't reach with your hand. Okay, and then you'll start to gently roll backwards, coming into spinal rotation. Again, you can support the top leg if you need to, using a bolster or a blanket. And you come into the rotation to where it feels comfortable for you.
more minute to go. Very slowly you'll release your foot. You can make your way either onto your front side or onto your back, and you'll stay in your next pose just for a few moments, maybe coming onto your back into Shavasana, but taking time just to notice the sensations in your spine, the different movement patterns that you went into. And then it's always good at the end when you come out of your Shavasana to do just a little bit of rotation, maybe just circling your arms around, maybe standing up, just to notice the freedom that you may have in your back. Well, thank you for joining me. See you soon.